All right, what's up, guys? It's Coop with CNT Designs again. And if you hear scratching in the background, that would be my wife working on a Browning Auto 5 with some serious, insane pitting.
It is a Remington
yeah, well, I got it confused. Either way, and if you guys didn't see on the last video, you can see I finally hung up a bunch of the plasma cuts in the background. We got the Fuka ATF back there. Let's go up here. We got the ATF dog wearing a hat. Yeah, we're rocking and rolling. So anyway, so you guys saw the last video, or if you haven't seen the last video, it was the blah, blah, blah video, which just is insane. So now we're going to another video. Let me move some stuff out of the way because I'm shooting this stuff on my phone because my computer's dead and I left my charging cable at work. And I ain't driving to go get it. So this is a microscope with a gun in it because this video is about HR 1576. Let's get into this one because this one's going to be probably painful too. So the long title of this bill is to provide for a coordinated national research program to examine the nature, causes, consequences, and prevention of violence and unintended injury and death relating to gun ownership, use, and trafficking, and for other purposes. Yes, I read that right. I am a decently literate Neanderthal.
With dyslexia?
Yeah, with dyslexia, which doesn't help much. All right, so this is by Mr. Johnson of Texas. Oh, he's another gem. He's a national fucking treasure. Let's see. So when we go into the short title of this bill, the short title of this bill is, this act may be cited as the National Gun Violence Research Act. Again, if you watched the last video, we have decades of research on gun violence already. We have decades of solutions to so-called gun violence already. It's already there. It's already been done. I don't know what to tell you. If people ain't figured this out by now, you ain't figuring it out. All right. So this one starts with findings just like the last bill. And I'm rubbing my head because, yes, this is going to be painful. All right. In the last 50 years, more individuals in the United States have died from gunshots than in all wars in which the United States was a combatant combined. Yes, they call these war zones that we're in right now inner cities for the most part. Go look at the statistics coming out of Chicago, Baltimore, New Orleans, Atlanta for the last couple of decades. Yeah, they're shooting, I almost said it, they're shooting people like it's free. But they still add in suicides to that number. So you got to figure 3/4 of the numbers they're playing with are all suicides. People who would have taken their lives at any means. Finding number 2, the rate of gun violence deaths in the United States is more than double that of other high-income nations. Look at the suicide rate in Japan right now, because their suicide rate is absolutely off the charts and they don't own guns. Meaning people that want to actually kill themselves are going to kill themselves no matter what.
Rope's cheap.
Yeah, like my wife said, rope's cheap. So is jumping off of buildings, bridges, throwing yourself in front of trains. All that stuff is pretty easy to come by. All right. Let's see. Finding number 3. Guns accounted for 74% of homicides and 51% of suicides in 2016, totaling 37,000 deaths in the United States. They have their figures so screwed right there. It's not even funny. 37,000. 3/4 of those were suicides. That left us with a total of about 14 to 16,000 gun homicides. Gun homicides are not just murders. They are someone getting killed with a firearm, meaning some of those homicides were, in fact, justified homicides. Yes, kids, if someone is using undue force against you at that level and you pull your firearm and shoot them, that is completely legal in any kind of area with any fucking sense.
It's not attached to anything.
My wife,
Don't worry about it.
yeah, it's not attached to anything. She's just poking me with an empty barrel. Actually getting the rust out of that. That gun has a story that I won't go into right now, but it is pitted to hell and back.
Not anymore.
It's looking tons better. We'll see blued and everything else and redone.
We'll keep you updated if you want.
Yeah, we can shoot a video on it once we get it done. Oh, hell, where was I at? Okay, number 5. Provisions in Appropriations Act dating back to 1996 had a chilling effect on federal funding for research on gun violence across the federal government, and as a result, research on gun violence is significantly underfunded relative to other leading causes of death. Absolute crap. Okay, the CDC's been studying this stuff forever. What they don't say is for the 14 to 20,000 gun homicides we have every year, we have anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million defensive gun uses every year, which is where someone may pull a gun. Now, this is empty, no mag, action, nothing in the chamber. I can push it in there. I can see light through the barrel. So, defensive gun use. Someone is using force on me. I'm in fear for my life. I may just have to tell that person I'm armed. And they see me move towards my waist. That's a defensive gun use. Gun was never discharged, which means in a lot of cases, police were never really informed of it. 500,000, couple of million. So there are way more defensive gun uses than there are gun homicides every single year, by orders of magnitude. So they can get bitten with that one because they have studied this stuff. The DOJ puts out figures on this every single year when they can get their crap straight. Screw the hack and go for right now. So yeah, all these figures are there. We have mountains of data on this. We have decades of data on this. They just don't want people to see the data. They want to tell people what to think, not inform people and let people form their own opinions about stuff. Let's see. Gun violence disproportionately affects racial minorities, with African Americans comprising nearly 60% of homicide victims and 22% of unintentional injury deaths in 2016. Now, they used 2016 for a couple of reasons. One, that year was kind of set alone. It had some pretty high numbers to it. But two, this is a retread of an old bill. They just merely retitled it and sent it back through. And yes, there's a disproportionate amount of African Americans who are killed by firearms and who are injured in incidents involving firearms. That is mainly because a lot of this happens in inner city areas that are highly minority, that have high rates of criminality. They have high rates of drug abuse. They have high rates of poverty, and everything functions off what we would call narco economy. In other words, they are selling drugs to make money because there's no other industry there. Why? Because the crime rates are so high, industry has left. They don't want to be in areas where they're going to get robbed every 5 seconds. So these businesses leave. No. Yeah, if you guys hear the sanding in the background, get over it. You guys have seen many times I shoot in real life. My kids are going to be running through the videos. I'm going to have chickens screaming in the yard. Y'all get over it.
Sorry.
But getting to this, and if this is Department of Justice numbers. This is the research that they do when they break crime down every year. African Americans account for a smaller percent of the American population, but they account for an overwhelming number of violent crimes, firearms deaths, because all that violence is located in these inner cities. And that is where a lot of the African American, fuck that, man, a lot of the black population in America lives. I can't do the PC shit. I'm just kind of, okay. I've literally known 2 African American people in my life. One was black, one was white. One was from South Africa. She held dual citizenship as an African and an American. Kitso was black. Her dad was a diplomat from Africa. Her mom was a diplomat from the United States. She held dual citizenship. She was an African American. I've known 2 in my life. I know a ton of black people. I've known 2 African Americans. Yeah, that'll probably get me banned.
So pissed.
My wife's talking about the barrel. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to get banned in a second.
Receiver now.
So let's get back to this, because Coop is going on another side trail rant. Like I said, this is talking about provisions. They stop people from studying gun violence. All those numbers are there. Every breakdown you can have of that is there, from the type of gun to the ethnicity, the original origin of the person who fired the gun. All that is there. DOJ statistics. Look at the Bureau of Crime Statistics report every year. It is there. They're running a little slow because 2021 and 2022 got a little hot. So let's see. That was finding number 5, right? So finding number 6. Research examining the nature, causes, consequences, and prevention of gun-related violence, suicide, unintentional injury. I'm going to learn how to talk one day, kids. And death does not constitute advocacy in support of or opposition to gun control policies and regulations. Gun control policies and gun control policies. Yes, they're actually admitting this is gun control that they're headed towards, kids. Oh, man. I don't know why I do this to myself. I think I just like torturing you guys, because if you guys are watching this shit, I know you are eating fucking Motrin like it's free right now. Number 7, more research and high quality data relating to gun violence are needed to inform the development of effective strategies to reduce the incidence of gun-related injury and death. We have literal decades upon decades of research that shows us why the majority of gun violence, so-called gun violence, happens, what fuels it, all that's out there. We're going to stick it under a microscope right now. We already have the fucking data. This is like researching hemorrhoids. We already know. As the action closes in the background.
Sorry.
This is life, kids. I've said it before in many videos. I shoot this shit raw in real life. Sanding going on in the background. It is what it is,
It's
man.
a nightmare.
Yeah, that receiver is a nightmare. Okay, I will show you.
I was trying to like cereal.
If you look at the pitting and the rust on this shotgun, this could be a beautiful shotgun.
It will be when I'm done.
The engraving and stuff on the side, this is a very, very old Remington.
I'm gonna fix it.
That joker got hunted hard and put away wet years ago. I mean, many years ago and just let set to go to shit. That's, yeah. It's an interesting one. That's what we do for fun, kids. All right, let's get back to this. So this is section 3. All right, in this act, number 1, director, they have to define everything. The term director means the director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy. We ain't launching rocket ships, kids. We already know. I can go right into the city from me. I know where the crime's at, who's doing it. I can go get anything I want if I have the money. It is there. Why do I need another government institution that is getting paid off your tax dollars to study this shit? Why? Okay. 2, institution of higher education. The term institution of higher education has the meaning given such term in section 101 of the Higher Education Act of 1965, which is 20 U.S. Code 1001, in case you kids really want to look it up. Take one of these and hit yourself in the head a lot, because that will feel better than reading this shit. Program. The term program means the National Gun Violence Research Program established under Section 5. We ain't made it into Section 5 yet, now we're in Section 4. If you're here, you're an absolute sadist. Number 1 in Section 4, the matter under the heading Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Salaries and Expenses in Title 1 of Division B of the Consolidated and Further Continuing Appropriations Act of 2012, in case you're wondering, that's 18 U.S.C. 923. Then they throw the public law note in here, yada, yada, is amended by striking the 6th provision. And I apologize, guys. My other laptop is dead, and I can't get to my notes. Let's try to get through this without me losing everything. Number 2, the 6th provision under the heading Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Salaries and Expenses, in Title 2, Division B of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2010, 18 U.S.C. 923. And they public law note 111 through 117 is amended by striking beginning in fiscal year 2010 and thereafter, and inserting in fiscal year 2010. They're increasing the funding for the ATF. Again, it's another bill to increase their funding. They need more bullets to shoot your dog, point guns at your family and your dog. Okay. The 6th provision under the heading Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Salaries and Expenses, Title 2, Division B of the Omnibus Appropriation Act of 2009, 18 U.S.C. 923, Public Law 111 through 8, is amended by striking beginning in the fiscal year 2009 and thereafter, and inserting in the fiscal year 2009. The 6th provision under the heading Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive Salaries and Expenses in Title 2, Division B of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2008, 18 U.S.C. 923, is amended by striking beginning in fiscal year 2008 and thereafter, and inserting in fiscal year 2008. The 6th provision under heading Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive Salaries and Expenses in Title 1 of the Science, yes, I'm reading that right, in Title 1 of the Science, State, Justice, Commerce, and Commerce. And Related Agencies Appropriation Act of 2006, 18 U.S.C. 923, Public Law 109 through 108, 19 Statute 2295, 2296 is amended by striking with respect to fiscal year. So they're wiping out the restrictions on their funding and expanding it. The sixth provision under the heading in Title 1, Division B, Consolidated Appropriations Act 2005, 18 U.S.C. 923, Public Law 108, 147, 118 Statutes 2859, 2860 is amended by striking with respect to any fiscal year. So they're not restricting them to the funding that they originally had. They're just expanding the funding. Good God. All right. Getting into Part B of this. Department of Health and Human Services. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, funds made available to the Department of Health and Human Services, including Center for Disease Control and Prevention, National Institute of Health, may be used to conduct research with respect to gun violence. They already have the research. It's already there. Why are we giving them more money to do the same research? All right, let's get into Section 5 of this bill. Research Program. Section 5. The President, acting through the Director, shall develop and implement a program to improve public health and safety through research on gun violence, to be known as the Gun Violence Research Program, through activities carried out in collaboration with covered agencies, which is going to be any alphabet agency on the planet. Consumer Product Safety Boards, the ATF. All right. Subparagraph 1 of this, support gun violence research. 2, accelerate the translation of gun violence research into effective policy intervention to reduce the incidence of injury and death related to guns. In other words, more laws that won't do anything. Again, we're going to put it under a microscope. I'm going to hang that on the wall right after this video's done. All right. Let's see. Expand the number of researchers and students in the field of gun violence research. Who knew there was a field for gun violence research? I'm learning new shit every day, apparently. And improve interagency planning and coordination of federal government activities relating to gun violence research. Program activities. A covered agency in carrying out activities described in subsection A, up there, shall award grants to individual investigators and interdisciplinary teams of investigators for projects related to gun violence research. Go to any big city, you idiot, and you will figure it out. I could do this shit for $40, and that's just the gas to drive around. I got you covered, boo. It may cost at least a carton of cigarettes. Okay, let's see. Support projects funded under joint solicitations by a collaboration of no fewer than 2 covered agencies. Establish a interdisciplinary research center or centers that are organized to investigate basic research questions and inform policy decisions relating to gun violence. You know what they're going to figure out is guns are bad, we need to ban all of them, and nobody should be armed. That's the federal government. Sorry. Sometimes the headache gets a little too much. All right, let's see. Yada yada. Gun violence research, support projects, solicitations, establish interdisciplinary basic research. All right, getting back to this. Provide for the education and training of undergraduate students, graduate students, and postdoctoral scholars in gun violence research, and promote the development of voluntary census gun safety technical standards. Gun safety technical standards, very simple. The pew thing comes out of the pointy end of the gun. Don't point that at anything that is not a threat to you, and you will not have any issues. Don't put your booger hook on the bang switch and the hammer don't drop. The firing pin does not release. Always point these in safe directions. Never point them at anything you are not willing to destroy. Be careful and watch for your target and what is behind said target. These are not toys. Problem solved. Where's all my money? Sorry, I am being a little bit more, I guess you could say, facetious. All right, interagency working group. Now, understand when they're talking about interagency working groups, they're talking about bringing a whole lot of different alphabet agencies together, and they are going to put it under a microscope, and they are going to come out with all the facts that they deem fit. They are not going to look at any of the actual research causes, data, anything like that. They are merely going to shape a narrative and push that narrative. Just the way they work. All right. Integrity Working Group. This is Section C. So this is Section C1. In general, not later than 90 days after the date of enactment of this act, the President, acting through the National Science and Technology Council, shall establish an interagency working group on gun violence research. Section 2. The composition of this. The working group established under this subsection shall be chaired by the director and include representatives from. Here's where we get into more of your federal government employees, kids. This is where your tax dollars go. The National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They want to regulate how those guns function. The National Institute of Health. They want to regulate guns under public health. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Again, that goes underneath. These are a health hazard, and we need to do things to prevent these injuries and deaths. The National Institute of Justice, and any other federal agency, including any agency, department, or service, therefore, that the director considers appropriate. I can't say that. Okay, duties. The working group shall, let me slide this up. Like I said, I'm working off the wife's laptop because mine's dead and I don't have my charging cord. So I don't have all my other notes on this either. So we're going through this blind together, kids. Let's see. Where was that? Okay, advisory committee in general. So the advisory committee in general, not more than 180 days after the date of enactment of this act, the president acting through the director of the Office of Science and Technology, policy shall establish an advisory committee on gun violence research. Composition. The advisory committee established under paragraph 1 shall be composed of not less than 12 members, including representatives of research institutions, institutions of higher learning, industry, and none of them will be from the gun industry, law enforcement, none of them will be pro-firearm, and relevant nonprofit organizations who are qualified to provide advice on the program. I'm thinking Moms Demand. I'm thinking the Giffords Institute. Just offhand, like I said, I don't have my notes. I'm going through this blind right now. These are first impressions. Duties. The advisory committee established under subsection A shall assess the management, coordination, implementation, and activities of the program. The balance of activities and funding across the program. They're going to decide where all the monies go. So Moms Demand, Giffords, Everytown, all of them are going to get payouts. Whether the program priorities goals developed by working group established under subsection C3, which is up there, that we ain't going back to, are helping improve public health and safety. Okay, all COVID lockdowns, public health and safety. If you don't think they will slide guns in under public health and safety and start doing different stuff under the guise of the greater good for public health and safety, at this point, you're an idiot. You're unfixable. You're completely broken. You need to go back to the shop and you need to be rewired because you are not right. I'm not right in the head. You're just not right, period. Okay. And then C, whether the program priorities goals developed by the working group established under subsection C. Okay, so the need to revise the program, covered agency defined. In this section, the term covered agency means the National Science, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, Centers for Disease Control, National Institute of Health, National Institute of Justice. No, I'm not reading this twice. This is in this bill like this. Such other federal agency determined by appropriate by the Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Getting into appropriations. Authorization of appropriations. They are authorized to be appropriated to the Director to carry out this subsection $200,000 for each fiscal year 2020 through 2027. That's the base of this bill. They still haven't, when you looked at the other stuff or if you heard the other stuff before, they're already working on the ATF funding, all that stuff. They're already expanding all that funding. Now they're adding $200,000 a year for 2022 to 2027. For things we already know. All right, agency activities, National Science Foundation. Subparagraph 1, research. The Director of the National Science Foundation shall award grants on a competitive basis to institutions of higher education or nonprofit organizations, or consortia of such institutions and organizations. So it could be a nonprofit with a educational institution. And if you have ever seen all the research on this so-called global warming, now they call it climate change, they will not award funding to anybody who is going against the narrative that they want to push. So anybody who says, oh, wait a second, defensive gun uses, they are not going to get funding. Now I'm getting wiped on.
Simba.
Yeah, Simba. So, let's get into this. So that was one. This is a subparagraph under 1. To support multidisciplinary research to better understand the nature, causes, consequences of violence, including violence, suicide, unintended injury, I'm going to learn how to talk, I swear to God, injury, and death involving guns. It's very simple. Someone took a firearm like this. Again, this is completely clear. Someone took a firearm like this. They pointed it at another person. And they pulled the trigger. The reasons for that are very simple. In most cases.
I got the rest out of
The vast majority of those cases have to do with the narcotics trade. Or they have to do with a culture of people who think that if someone insults them, then they get to pull a firearm and shoot them. It is very much a cultural thing. I didn't say color because multiple people of multiple backgrounds, colors, diversities, religions will all do the same thing. It is a cultural thing where people do not respect life. They do not operate by the simple principles of I don't have the right to use physical force against you unless you use physical force against me. And that physical force has to be on basically a level where if you escalate, then I have the right to escalate. All right. Let's see. To examine the effects of gun policy interventions on rates of suicide, homicide, unintentional injury, and death. Individuals' ability to use guns for self-defense, hunting, recreation, and the gun industry, which means they want to actually do some research. They want to blame firearms deaths on gun manufacturers, and they want to sue them. That is where this heads. Are we noticing a trend from many other bills I covered that are up there on the wall to what we're covering now? Never blame the criminal who actually pulls the trigger. Never blame the criminal who actually has the gun in their hand. Blame the gun. If you took every gun out of the United States right now, that son of a bitch would be beating you with a baseball bat. Would it be bat violence? All right. Let's see. To educate and train researchers in the field of violence, including gun violence and research. We already know this. We already know everything about this. But they want to spend millions of dollars. They want to reinforce the ATF. All right, National Center for Violence Research. The director of the National Science Foundation shall award grants on a competitive basis to institutions of higher education and nonprofit organizations or consortia of such institutions or organizations to establish one or more centers to conduct multidisciplinary research and education activities in support of goals and priorities, which are laws and restrictions, of the program, to be known as the National Center for Violence Research. We already learned in the last bill there is already a gun violence research agency. National Institute of Standards and Technology. Voluntary Consensus Standards. The Secretary of... you guys already know, anytime I hear commerce in a bill, I about lose it. The Secretary of Commerce, acting through the Director of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, shall establish a program to promote the development of voluntary consensus gun safety technical standards. Such efforts shall include outreach, coordination, technical support to relevant industry and non-industry stakeholders, and standard development organizations to assist such industries in the development of voluntary consensus gun safety standards. Do you think that will stay voluntary? Section or subparagraph B. The conduct of research to support efforts to develop and improve such standards and conformity assessment, and subparagraph C, the development of such standard or reference material as the director determines is necessary to further development of such standards. These people are crazy. Prohibition on regulation. Nothing in this act shall be construed as conferring upon the Secretary of Commerce any authority to establish or enforce mandatory gun safety standards. My big ol' ass. If you guys have watched any of my videos, you know that they use commerce to enforce every federal gun law. That is what they do because they have no real authority to enforce federal gun laws in the states. They use the Commerce Clause. When you get the commerce people involved in this, what do you think will happen? All right, authorizations and appropriations. There's authorized to be appropriated to carry out this subsection $1 million for each fiscal year 2022 through 2027. Told you there was more money. Department of Justice research. The Attorney General of the United States, acting through the National Institute of Justice, shall conduct or sponsor such research into the nature, causes, consequences, and prevention of gun violence. Competition. The Attorney General of the United States, acting through the National Institute of Justice, shall sponsor an inducement prize competition under Section 24 of the Stevenson-Wilder Technology Innovation Act of 1980, which is 15 United States Code 3719. I have not looked at that. It's not in my, well, it might have been in my notes. I don't have my notes, so I have no idea. To demonstrate through testing and evaluation the reliability of guns and gun accessories with integrated advanced gun safety technology, commonly referred to as smart guns, user-authorized handguns, child-proof guns, and personalized guns. All the smart gun technology that is proven to fail every damn time because guns like this, which runs flawlessly, are still prone to failures in some cases. Do I want this working like the touchpad on my phone when my hands are dirty? That's what that bill's going to. That's where all this research is going to lead to. All right. Let me read that again. To demonstrate through testing and evaluation the reliability of guns and gun accessories with integrated advanced gun safety technology, commonly referred to as smart guns, user-authorized handguns, child-proof guns, and personalized guns. Trace data. Can anybody say registry? I knew you could. In general, not later than 180 days after the date of enactment of this act, the Attorney General, in collaboration with the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, shall develop consensus protocols for granting researchers access to gun trace data while protecting the confidentiality of gun owners and dealers. They're full of shit. Even Sheila Jackson Lee's bill that I covered not too long back made all of that data public. Data harvesting, or data sharing, I'm sorry. Not later than 1 year after the date of enactment of this act, the Attorney General, acting through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, shall commence sharing with researchers, according to the protocols developed under subsection A, the contents of the Firearms Trace System database and information required to be kept by licensees pursuant to section 923G, that's the NICS stuff, of Title 18 United States Code, or required to be reported pursuant to paragraphs 3 and 7 of such section, the 923G. That's all of the data that they want, the 4473s, yeah. And if you guys have watched John Crump, Guns and Gadgets, Guns and Gear, 280U, God, there's so many guys that I follow I can't even think of. The ATF has almost 1 billion records on gun transactions right now that are in a searchable database that they don't call a registry. Eat a bag of them, kids, because anybody with any sense knows that's a registry. Authorization of appropriations. This is the section or the paragraph 4 of section, 5 that we're into right now. Authorization of appropriations. There is to be authorized to be appropriated to carry out this subsection $3 million for each fiscal year 2022 through 2027. I don't know about y'all, but it looks like they throwing a hell of a lot of money at a situation that me and 2 other people can solve in about 5 damn minutes. And all it comes down to is they want a registry and smart guns. Yep, that's about the size of it. Y'all be cool. I'm out on this video. I might shoot one more tonight. Y'all take it easy.